Welcome, Internet, to the Pixel Play Podcast, your weekly podcast where we get together to discuss all the news, rumors, and discussions going on in the gaming world. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, CSRadical. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the dumpster fire that is GTA Remaster, the Game Award nominations, and our predictions. We're going to be doing a retrospective on 1 year since PlayStation 5 has launched, and Adam is coming to us with an untimely review for the game Unpacked. If you like that and you want to hear us talk more, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Pixel Play Podcast. If you want to see our lovely faces while we're doing this, you can always find us on YouTube by searching for Pixel Play Podcast, Pixel Play, one word. And if you want to be part of the conversation, feel free to always reach out to us on our socials. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram by searching Pixel Play Cast. And we do have a Discord in the links. If you want to join us there, join our fellow fans and listeners and become part of the action and chat with us and your questions. If you want to email us, you can also email us at pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. With that rigmarole out of the way, let's get into it. Adam, how are you doing?
It's been fine. You know, we had a little bit of rain recently, not nearly as not transparent as the rain in GTA 3 these days, but, you know, it feels a little bit clear. You know, it's been fine, but, you know, sometimes you just have this weird, like, Spider-Man level rain that you just gotta trudge through. Or unless you're in British Columbia right now here in Canada, and you're under a lot more than just rain, so, ew.
Yeah. It's brutal. I saw pictures of it. That's absolutely nuts. Funny enough, my aunt actually used to live out in Abbotsford, so like she moved, fortunately. But you know, I've been out there a couple times, and it's a nice little area, and it's too bad that it's going through what it is. So
I have a friend who literally lives minutes away from where some of the big pictures were taken, and he is stuck in an airport in Calgary still trying to figure out what the hell he's doing. So yeah,
like he lives there.
Yep,
but he's not there, so he has no idea what the status of his house is.
He is trapped in Alberta right now.
And no idea what the status of his house is?
No, apparently his girlfriend is in their condo. The condo's fine other than losing power, but like it's not, they're not underwater.
Okay, well that's good.
Yet.
I mean, they're in a condo, so they're a couple floors up,
We're
right?
still waiting for the tsunami that's just inevitably going to hit, because that's just this planet right now.
You know, 2021 is a year, you know, 2020 is looking good in hindsight.
Yeah, we got the wrong year. It wasn't 2012.
2020 was just the prep. That was the appetizer for what was 2021.
Remember when we made the joke that once we finally got through 2020, 2021 would start, and it would just be like, you completed level 2020, now on for level 2021. Apparently 2022 is just going to be like, we need to figure out the God mode cheating fast.
Yeah.
Although I feel if we were the human race given God mode, we would just end up blowing ourselves up still somehow anyway.
It's how it works out. Yeah, it's been pretty quiet here at my place. The epic continues. I know everyone's not really curious of how I'm doing in Skyrim. Nobody cares, but everyone's looking for the update on how the wife is doing in Skyrim, and I can confirm for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, she is in. She's been playing Skyrim. We had an instance this week, so we have one copy of Skyrim, and so she got started playing, and so I think like Wednesday or Thursday night, she ended up claiming the game before I did. So I was like, well, I want to play Skyrim, but I can't because the wife is playing Skyrim. So we actually went to the library and we now rented out a second copy of Skyrim. So we now have 2 copies of Skyrim in our household, simply so we could both play on our respective consoles. That's what it's come down to.
If only like this thing called like digital consoles and sharing and all these things existed.
I'm an old man. I refuse to. I like my games on my discs. I like holding them. Could it have been solved with digital? Probably, but no, we're not going there. I need to add it to that collection I have over there with all the other games.
It's like, no, well, you know, you could have just gotten the digital copy and then gotten a physical copy later. It's not like Skyrim's expensive.
Actually, you know what? So surprisingly, it's not like impossible to find, but it is challenging. So I had to I called around a bunch of like local stores asking if they had like used copies, and like the used copies are still going for like $35, and a new copy is I think like 50.
I guess the game's just that good that nobody gets rid of it.
Yeah, that's what like, because I called some EB Games and they're like, yeah, this game doesn't come in very often. So like I would have thought it would be easy to find, but no, pretty hard. It's not a dime a dozen kind of game. But so here's how it's going. So I am just flabbergasted. Like you and we've been playing games for a while, so we're sort of into the familiarities of it. Like we know the paces, like we know what to do. It is fascinating watching her play Skyrim because it is just so different from how I'm playing. And I'm just like, huh, that's how we're playing Skyrim, is it? And so what she's doing is I don't even think she's following the main campaign, which is fine. That's a normal thing.
I was going to say, if you're following the campaign trail, that's not how you play Skyrim anyway.
No, that's not how you play Skyrim. But she doesn't even know where I think she's going. Like she is just wandering, and her sole purpose is to collect every single item. If she can pick it up, she is picking it up. And her whole MO in this game is just she's not playing as a mage, she's not playing as an archer, she's not playing as a rogue. She is literally just playing as a supplier for stores.
I thought we were going to say hoarder, but
basically that's what she is. She is a kleptomaniac hoarder. Basically, she is stealing everything and then just selling it to stores to make money for I don't know what purpose, because she's not buying anything. She's just collecting things. And so like she has picked up, I think she has like 97 thistles just from like Riverwood or whatever it's called, or River Run. Is that Lord of the Rings?
I know Whiterun, I think, is one place.
Oh yeah, no, like like the first city before Whiterun, she just went around collecting thistle. So now she has like 100 thistles for no purpose. What she's doing with it, I don't know. And so I was watching her going through Bleak Falls, like that first like major dungeon that you go through, and it's fascinating because she's by herself, so she doesn't have any companions, and she is picking up every single item. So she'll get into a room, pick up items, become overcumbered, dump her items, and she's not dumping like the garbage stuff. Like she's holding on to tomatoes and cabbage that she stole from the village, and she's dumping like weapons, goes into the next room, kills everything, loots everything, gets overcumbered, drops everything again. And it just, that's the cycle that we're going through now. So it's just so funny to watch. I mean, obviously she's having fun, she's doing her own thing, that totally fine, but it is asinine to watch at times. Love you, sweetie.
So genocide, kleptomania, and then just basically shitting goods everywhere.
Pretty much. And then just selling it back for like pennies on the dollar to the stores. And now she has a companion. So now her goal is she just loads up with stuff, goes as far as she can, loads up with stuff, fast travels back, sells it, and then goes back to where she left off and just keeps going. So she's literally just a supplier for the stores.
So basically, it's just one day she's walking into the shop and the shopkeeper's like, how's it going? And she just lays down 100 thistles on here, be like, take this.
Yeah, basically. Do you ever watch the show or hear of the show like American Pickers?
Yes.
That's basically Jen. She's like, I could use a can. And so she's just picking that up and taking it. And it's like, it's not worth anything. She's like, but I could get it.
I don't think I could handle that.
No, I
my brain would explode. I'll be like, I'm gonna go back to just killing shit in GTA.
I'm like, do you want to go fight a dragon? And she's like, no, I gotta collect these wild berries. And I'm like, all right, like you go role play, sweetie. Like that's what you want to do. Yeah. So
she's saving the trees.
No, because she's picking them.
No, it's just picking them so that they grow back. It's revitalizing the environment.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, she does her, like whatever, but it's just, oh my, like I know Skyrim is the long game. I cannot imagine how long it would take for her to finish this.
I don't think she's going to.
No, God, no, she's gonna burn herself out before she's done.
She's like, I can't find any more berries. I'm kind of bored of this game now. There's dragons.
Yeah, do you want to go fight a dragon? You want to go be part of a rebellion? You want to go do you want to go do all that stuff?
At least go shoot somebody's knee out with an arrow. Just at least meme it if you're gonna pick berries for 2 hours.
That's 100% the thing. But it's adorable to watch and it's hilarious. She's getting much better, but yeah.
So what you're saying is at some point, down the line, assuming when we get to episode like 500, we're gonna have to figure out what your kid's doing in Skyrim now next.
Oh yeah, pretty much. So
and then your wife's gonna be sitting there being like, what is our kid doing? And you're gonna be sitting there being like, now you understand.
Is he? Yeah, he's just gonna be spinning in circles, but it'll be just as productive. So whatever. All right, Adam, let's jump right into it. I say that after we've just been chatting for 5 minutes, but let's get into it. The first story we'll talk about is the dumpster fire that is Grand Theft Auto remaster. that what it's calling it? The
I
trilogy.
don't know. The
I think that's what
trilogy
they're
remastered, the definitive edition, number 2, Electric Boogaloo. We're gonna patch this 1,000
I
times like
don't
it's
feel
Cyberpunk.
like remaster or definitive edition is a justified
I mean, it
title.
might have been a remaster, but it was a remaster of a mobile port, which is basically like saying, here's this shiny turd, and we just made it slightly shinier.
The Grand Theft Auto, the re-disaster.
There are legit instances where the PS2 version runs better than some things on console. Think about that for a second. You want to talk about dumpster fire? I think dumpster fire is being kind.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this. So this is coming from Respawn Station from Shri Kendula. They write Grand Theft Auto the trilogy is being review bombed after a rough launch. So Grand Theft Auto the trilogy was released earlier this week on PlayStation 5, Xbox, or PlayStation 4, Xbox, basically all the systems, via Rockstar launcher, but the game is off to a rough start. The collection, which includes remastered versions of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, turns out not to be the definitive edition after players across all platforms are reporting numerous problems. This has led players to take to Metacritic to review bomb the game. At the time of writing this article, Grand Theft Auto Trilogy sits at a 0.9 user score with nearly 1.5 or 1.5 thousand votes, 1,500 votes. At the score. And the score did dip below 0.5 earlier yesterday, briefly making the collection the lowest rated game on the site. This brings us to the question, what makes the definitive edition so bad? Well, first, there's the performance problems. Players across all consoles have been reporting low frame rates, with the game reportedly hitting as low as 20 frames per second on Nintendo Switch. Players on the GTA subreddit have decided to share side-by-side comparisons of the original games and their remaster counterparts, and they're pretty bad. That's just me editorializing. You should be cautious, though, as there are a lot of doctored images making rounds that are just trying to fuel the fire. That being said, gameplay footage of the rain in San Andreas does highlight how difficult it is to play the game in its current state. Additionally, the Rockstar gamed launcher was down on launch day, and after the launcher was back up, the definitive edition was unavailable to play or purchase due to files that were unintentionally added and needed to be removed. And this could be due to like licensing. The music hasn't been there as well. And then Rockstar did acknowledge in a tweet on November 14th saying Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy, the definitive edition, is again available through the Rockstar game launchers for play and purchase. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience and are working to improve and update overall performance as we move forward. Adam, first question, like what do you make of, the definitive edition?
It's about 24 months way too early into our hands. That's probably the best way of looking at it. It is literally a giant steaming bowl of crap. There's no better way. Well, I guess there's much more expletive ways to talk about it, but it is an absolute disaster. Like, it runs like the performance mode compared to the fidelity mode. Think about this for a second too. A remaster of a PlayStation 2 game has a performance and a fidelity mode. Mm-hmm. Why don't we just have one? It's a PS2 game.
Yeah.
It's not like they've rebuilt it like it was freaking Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're talking about a basically like modified version of the PS2 game that people online have been doing forever and got taken down from stores, and in some cases going to court with Take-Two over it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Rockstar basically just destroyed their entire mod scene to put out a garbage collection of these three games and charged $60 for it, when it's probably not even worth $5 on mobile.
No, I think the problem is that, like, there's two things for this. One, I don't even think this should have been a remaster. Like, no offense, a PS2 game does not warrant a remaster. Like, a PS2 game, you almost need to do a remake. Like, and the people are saying this. It's not just that it doesn't perform well, but this is, like I've said it several times, this is an iterative industry where the games improve, what we do improves. Like, we're always building on what was done before. And so with something like GTA 3, like, it's it's not archaic, but it has a lot of hiccups that, of that time were acceptable, but now don't really fly. And so I think just putting a new coat of paint on that game does it a disservice. And I think what it really needs is, I think, like, it did need a genuine remake.
Or at the
And
very
so,
least, just take the base game and just upscale it and make it 60 frames. Who cares about adding a new color palette to it? Who cares about adding any sort of extra stuff? Just make it run at 60 frames and just make it work on like 4K TVs.
yeah.
So it doesn't look like polygonal crap. That's all you
Yeah.
had to do. And they decided to not do that, but then take a mobile port of the game, try to put that in Unreal 4, and then somehow make that work. And it ended up being a disaster.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, like, because what this does is this does tarnishes Rockstar's reputation, who, to be honest, had a pretty stellar one. And I feel like they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. And they're not the first studio to do that, but I think studios need to kind of, like, the idea that Rockstar comes out and says, like, we're working to improve and update the overall performance. You couldn't have been surprised that this is what the performance looks like, and you chose to release it.
Oh, and you sit there and you think, like, because, we've had enough time now being in this age of social media to understand really what goes on in the industry. You know that there is no way that QA testing in this did not sit there and be like, guys, this is really bad. Like, really bad. You think nobody in QA thought that the rain that, like I said, looks like legit Spider-Man webbing flowing into the ground, that none of them said, hey guys, visibility's kind of shit with this rain. Can we maybe fix that? Or, hey guys, I think the fans are going to think the way that we change the body forms and the facial expressions, they're not going to like it because it kind of looks like dog shit. Like, you look at the original game, and I'm talking PS2, I'm not talking like the Xbox, I'm talking full-on original. They look perfectly serviceable now. If you had just put a 60-frame 1080p coat of paint on it, we probably would have said, that's fine. It runs well.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here being like, you couldn't even do that right.
Yep.
We've said it many times with different games on this show. This is the easiest layup Rockstar ever had to make. Just redo the games, 60 frames per second, just a bit of upscaling. You don't have to go crazy. Like, is it nice that they did things like water reflections, and making the sky look prettier and things like that? Sure, like, it's nice to see lighting improving in a game that's 20 years old, but it didn't need it. People more just remember the game. They weren't really looking for it to look like super amazing. And if it was going to be super amazing, then you just remake it. There's no point in putting so much work in a remaster, because realistically no one gives a shit. They just want to play the game that they grew up with.
And that's the thing that I'm thinking, is that, like, these games were already available, through, like, backwards compatibility.
Yeah, because they were backwards compatible on PS4.
Yeah, and they were on the system, like, they were on the storefronts too. Like, they got pulled down so that they can sell these. And it's, if people wanted to play them, they were there. So unless you're bringing something to the table that is new, that is improved, why? Like, the people who want to play it can play it. Like, there's no gatekeeping, there's no barrier to entry that stops me if I want to go pick up Vice City from doing that.
And in all honesty, like, what they chose for their kind of new look for this game, it almost feels like I'm playing Simpsons Hit and Run, with the way that the graphics kind of look. It looks like I'm playing like a 3D fleshed out like Simpsons Hit and Run without like the Simpsons kind of like cartoonish style. It's very weird how it looks, because it doesn't look like they give it a realistic coat of paint, but it also doesn't look like the original game either. So it just looks like this, almost like a Chinese knockoff, if that makes any sense.
Yep. No, I know what you mean. Like, it's hard because I feel like they lost like their art style. So.
Well, because you remember with the original GTA 3, it had like this blue filter to it. Now it's completely gone, and it kind of just takes away, I guess, some of the charm of it. Now it just looks like every other game out there. It looks like a shitty sandbox game on Steam that you would find for $10.
Sorry. No, I completely agree. Sorry, I had something come up on my phone. I just had to address that.
You gotta have the on-air symbol, man. We're live, pal.
No, I totally hear you. Now the second thing I wanted to talk to you about, like this review bombing, like, is that, I don't know. Like, I get that this is a crappy situation. I get that, Rockstar should not Rockstar should not be rewarded for this kind of, but, like, I don't know. Review bombing to me does it accomplish anything?
I mean, in the end, no, because it's still going to exist on the store. they're still going to make their money. You know, we do this every single time with stuff, but they always end up turning a profit anyway. I mean, if it does anything, it's such a minor number that it doesn't really put a dent in things, because most of the people, and if I'm wrong on this, but most of the people that review bomb were never planning on buying it anyway. They're just doing it because it's something that they can put on their status on Twitter to be like, hey, look at me, I did my part, fuck Rockstar. And we're all like, okay. But then the same person's either going to turn around and keep playing GTA 5 and spend money on shark cards, or, you know, the next time something else happens with Rockstar, they'll still defend them to the bone, or you know, quite frankly, they'll do what they always do, which is go back to whatever they're playing until the next big controversy comes up, and then they'll act like they give a shit.
Yeah, like it costs nothing. There's no difficulty in review bombing a game, and like Rockstar doesn't care. They got their money. Like the amount of people that are going to be dissuaded from it, I don't know. Maybe it makes a news article that, you know, then gets people to say, "Oh, this game is bad." But for me, like, I don't think it accomplishes much. And like, it's easy to review bomb something. It costs no effort. But what's really challenging, and if you really want to stick it to Rockstars, when GTA 6 gets announced, when, you know, Red Dead 3 gets announced, whatever, that's when you need to sort of say, no, like, I'm not going to, you know, support this. I'm going to, like, you need to prove yourself again. But I mean,
I disagree, because if the game is really, really good, you do support it. It's just the problem is the actual method to do things is just impossible, because that would require people to do nothing. Because if you really want to put a stance, you don't talk about it. You just if you ever want to stick it to a company, you make them obsolete. You don't make them matter at all, because as they always say, any PR is good PR. It gets the game's name out there. And in the case of this game, the only way that it was ever going to be taken seriously that something was wrong is if nobody was buying it and nobody was talking about it. I mean, the journalists are going to report on it being bad because that's what they do. But once literally every bit of social media is just churning up and down about stuff, you lose. Because now they've won. They got their PR win. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. So I don't think either review bombing does anything. I don't think taking it out on another game, unless it's shit too. But, you know, I don't think, like, unless we're talking pre-orders, fine. Don't pre-order the game. Don't give them their money right away. Wait for it. But if the game is 9 or 10, like if Red Dead 3 is 9 or 10 out of 10 again, then buy the fucking game. Go enjoy it. You shouldn't have to stand, you don't have to stand by a moral that really isn't going to do anything much in a corporate structure, just so that you, because it only hurts you if it's a really good game and you don't get to enjoy it. But realistically, if it matters that much, don't talk about it. Don't make any videos about it. It's already out, guys. Everybody knows that it's bad. So now shut up about it. And that'll be the real message to Rockstar, is that we've already stopped caring about their game and no one's buying.
You see the irony though of what we're saying right now, right?
What? That we're complaining about it now, but all I'm saying now is it's done. So you know, I don't want to see, like, especially in a couple of weeks, I don't want to still hear about it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, we're in that infancy where it's like a weekend. Like, we're all going to do our quick bits here, but I'm also sitting here saying, by the way, we need to stop talking about it as soon as possible, because the only way this is going to actually change is if we stop talking.
Yeah. I think the double-edged sword though of those review bombs and those talking about it being disastrous is that it works as a double edge. And I use the example of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, atrocious release, you know, whatever. People are, you know, completely against it, and rightfully so. The game wasn't amazing at launch, but like now you have people who are going in and they're playing it and they're like, you know what? I heard it was the worst game ever, and there were redeeming parts of it. And I haven't played GTA the trilogy, so I can't speak to it. But by creating this narrative that it is atrocious and the worst game ever, you're then going to have a flip narrative that is eventually going to come to it when it goes on sale, and they're going to be like, "Hey, this game's actually pretty good." And like, I think that's a problem. Like, that's a double-edged sword of doing those review bombs. Is like you're over inflating how bad it is, and then you're sort of taking away that narrative that the next time something like this happens, people are gonna be like, "Oh well, people said, you know, Cyberpunk was terrible. People said the trilogy was terrible, but I liked it, so maybe I need to, you know, give it a shot no matter what." And so I think, like, I don't know, for me, I've never seen the appeal of review bombs, but that's just myself.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I see, like, and this goes way back to any conversation that we've had or I've had in any other instance about review scores, they're arbitrary. They don't actually matter in the end. It's more or less a gauge of you figuring out if you personally want to take a risk on something. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, even in the case of GTA Remaster, if you really love it that much, you'll probably be able to look past it, or at the very least, if you wait a couple of weeks for them to patch out little things like, I don't know, the fucking rain that makes it impossible to see where you're going. Like, there are instances where you could still spend your money, and you probably be okay with it. Because, I mean, if you're a big enough fan, if you're a big enough fan, you're going to be fine. And I think that's what a lot of people were with, like you said, with Cyberpunk, where, once a couple of things got patched out so it wasn't crashing all the time and it wasn't super buggy, I think people were willing to look past it because their excitement still existed. They still probably got what they wanted out of it. And who knows, like, I might be that person when the next-gen console version comes out, get a chance to really take a crack at it. Maybe I end up sitting there being like, you know what, this game actually was really good. It's a shame that I had to wait this long, but I got to do it. And you're in the case of, well, I got to play it while it was still somewhat in its transition period, but I still enjoyed it a lot, and that's fine. It's just, when it's clearly obvious in the case of, say, both Cyberpunk and GTA that they were rushed out the door and should not have been put in launch period, like, you have to call that out, and you have to make these companies accountable. And like I said, either by not buying or by not talking. And we are already doing one of them by not buying with GTA Remaster, because I don't think either of us plan on getting it. I don't know if I really would have gotten it to begin with.
Stand strong, brother.
At least not anytime soon. But, like, I don't know. Like, once we get past this episode, unless something significant happens now, there's no reason to talk about the game anymore. Like, that's what I mean when I say stop talking. Like, once you've had your one shot in, stop. Because what are you going to say now? That it's still garbage? We did that with Cyberpunk as a joke. But that's because we wanted it to be good. We already know that 3, 4, and 5, if you want to think of what... I know it's technically 3 Vice City and San Andreas, but let's be real. It was 3, 4, and 5, but numbering systems in video games are always weird. But, like, we already know that they were good. It was just a garbage port. So what are you going to say? That hopefully the port's better? Like, no, I'll just go back and play the originals that are sitting on my shelf right now with my PlayStation 2. It's fine. If I really need to badly play it, I have an option. Yeah.
Speaking of, let's switch from bad games and talk about some great games.
Subjectively great games?
Subjective. Well, there are great games in there. Just what your opinion is might differ. So, as you may or may not know, the Game Awards are fast approaching, hosted by Jeff Keighley, and so the awards actually went live today. So, Adam, I thought we might go through just a couple of the categories. We're not going to go through all of them because,
What, don't you know everything about esports like all of us are supposed to know?
Go the esports.
I feel so bad for, like, the people that are in that industry, because that, like, 85% of people when the Game Awards are on don't give a shit. When it gets to their turn, we're just like, we don't know who any of you are. Because, like, it's a pretty niche segment. Like,
it's niche, but it's growing. And, like, the people who do know it, like, I don't know, if I was there, I'd still be proud of, like, making it to that point. So.
Oh, yeah, but I also feel bad at the same time, because there's a lot of people that are sitting there just being like, I don't fucking care, play the trailers. Kind of the same way that when you're watching, like, State of Play and indie games come in and people just bitch endlessly. So I feel bad for them. I'm just more just like, look, I don't know a goddamn thing, so I can't comment.
Yeah. I do have an issue that we never got, we never got our nod for Content Creator of the Year. So
I know I'm really upset about
Jeff?
that. Like, what the hell? You think Dream's better than us?
Should we send our legion of fans at him and, like, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening here, tweet out to Jeff Keighley and say, hey, what about the Pixel Play podcast? Where's their love?
I'll make sure I type in the Discord to the all of 10 people in there that they should do their part.
We are a small but vocal group, sir. Do not minimize our capabilities. Yeah, just tweet out to him and say, hey, where's our love? But Adam, I figure we can go through it. We can kind of talk about, I think let's do it. Let's do 2 things in this.
Can I just make one note, though, before we start?
Yeah.
Can it really be shown? Well, actually, sorry, 2 notes. One, can it really be shown how quiet this year was given the list of games and how many repeats there are, and how, like, so many of these games you're like, I mean, they're not bad, but I wouldn't put them up there in a normal year.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's go through it. That way, the
listeners then I'll get my second point out. The most anticipated game category is really weird because it's 4 out of 5 of them are from last year's category.
That's true.
Elden Ring's still there, God of War's still there, Breath of the Wild sequel's still there, and Starfield was still there. I don't think Horizon was on last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this award needs to be taken down and restructured because you shouldn't be able to win it twice. Like, Elden Ring is not winning this twice. They're probably going to.
Weird category. Most anticipated game.
Well, it makes sense because like half of the Game Awards is trailers now.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's half awards, half E3. Let's be honest.
Hey,
I'm not complaining. I got a Mass Effect trailer last year.
Keely knows what we want. He delivers. Accept our nomination for content creator. We're not even asking to win. We just want our nod.
Look, I just want to bitch a little bit because I'm a little salty. We didn't get included in content creator of the year.
I know.
So I just want to take my pot shots in.
Next year.
I guess we'll be nice though, so we can talk about all the good ones.
Yeah. So let's go through it. We'll just kind of go through some of the categories. I'm going to save game of the year for the last one. So let's kind of just go through it, and I'll just read them out. If you want to talk about it, it's great. If not, just skip. Can I ask you though, sir? Pull up a spreadsheet. Let's do let's make this a little competition. Let's see who can get the most bets.
Okay, well, I'll start a new Actually, no, I can't start a new Oh wait, I have two browsers I can use. Of course, I can start another Discord channel.
Yeah.
All right. Game Awards. All right, we'll do it.
All right. So we're going to do first off Best Game Direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Your nominees are Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So what we'll do, Adam, is we will each do which ones we think should win and which ones we think are going to win. Okay. Would you like to go first or second, my friend?
Okay, so if we're doing our competition, is it what we think is going to win, not what we want to?
Yes. So the first one is just let's just say here. If I was picking, this is what I would pick. Here's the one I think that is going to win.
All right. So if we're talking the game direction, what I think should win is It Takes Two, and I actually think that probably will win. Because I think in terms of innovation, like Deathloop. I know that it was pretty innovative in game direction, but I don't know if it's got that edge compared to, say, It Takes Two, which apparently has been a fantastic revelation for people who are trying to play with those that aren't pretty big in gaming, because it's probably like one of the closest thing to like a genuine, really good couch co-op game that we've had in a long time. So I think people really want to take a shot at that, and I also think if anything is going to give a chance for Returnal to win an award, this would be it too.
Yeah, so that's my vote of what I would pick to win. My vote would probably be Deathloop. Like I said in my review, I really like Deathloop in terms of what it does in terms of redefining like the roguelike, live, die, repeat kind of situation. I think it's really refreshing, especially compared to something like Returnal. So I think I could see it going between It Takes Two or Deathloop, and I think for me, I think I'm going to give it to Deathloop. Next one, Best Narrative, for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange: True Colors, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, or Psychonauts 2.
Now, personally, for I think both of us, other than you with Deathloop, it's going to be hard for us to comment on narrative because we have to play the games to do it. Just what we've heard from the thing. Yeah, just based on what I've heard, I don't really have a want because I'd have to have a horse in the race. But if I was to guess who will probably win, I would probably lean to Life is Strange just on the basis of it being a very narrative game, and not to mention having that social like click to it as well.
Yeah. For me, like the two that I'm kind of leaning between, and once again, we haven't played this, but just from what I hear, I think it's between Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy and Psychonauts 2. I'm not hearing a lot about the Life is Strange True Colors. I know that It Takes Two, was a great game from a gameplay perspective, but a lot of people said the story was not the best. So, yeah, Psychonauts 2 or Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I will admit that like I'm very shocked that Psychonauts 2 has as many nominations, not because I don't think it deserves it, but because I haven't heard anybody say a word about this game.
Yeah, I've heard some people, and like those who play it, say it's really good. I'm gonna give it to Guardians of the Galaxy just because I've heard that story is pretty good and pretty tight. Next is Best Art Direction. This one's an easy one for us to do because we just have to look at the games. We don't actually play it. For outstanding creative or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Nominees are Deathloop, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and The Artful Escape.
I don't even have to think about it. It should be Kena, because how are you going to hate on a Pixar movie in a game? Like, it just looks stunning. I know there's chances for stuff like Psychonauts and Ratchet, but my brain just immediately goes Kena on this.
Yeah, I feel like Kena is the obvious choice. I don't know though. Like, I'm looking at The Artful Escape, and that is a pretty like out there looking game, like very psychedelic, lots of cool colors. Yeah, outstanding creative or technical achievement. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is the like Kena Bridge of Spirits. Yeah, I think you're right. Do you want to do music and audio design?
I mean, I can try to put it. I'll just say Cyberpunk, because I think Cyberpunk needs one award just to have a joke in there.
Fair enough. I mean, I feel like Marvel's The Guardians of the Galaxy is a pretty like it's low hanging fruit just because it's a bunch of like, toe tapping kind of songs from the 60s and 70s, like the 80s, like you'd expect from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Look, if we're competing, I just really want to win by 1 point and it be Cyberpunk being the deciding factor. Look, I want that to be the one thing.
Yeah. So in terms of the thing, I don't really have a horse in the loop or a horse in the race. I'm gonna give it to. Yeah, I kind of feel like it is gonna be Cyberpunk.
Just throwing it at the dartboard.
Yeah. What the hell? I'll give it to Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not gonna do audio design because we don't care. Do you care about performance?
I mean, it's an important award, so I think we should at least put in a guess.
All right, cool. But once again, we haven't played this, so we can't really say the performance.
Well, yeah, but I feel like I'm just going to guess Giancarlo Esposito just because that's all everybody will say about that game that's actually good about it, because apparently it's not that great otherwise.
I'm gonna go with Maggie Robertson for Resident Evil Village.
Perfect.
There we go.
There, we got our difference.
Okay. Games for Impact, once again, I don't really have any opinion there.
I actually would have had an opinion like I did last year, but I don't know anything specific about the 5 games that could be it. Because I mean, when I said oh my god, why am I forgetting the name of it now? It was made by the same developers of Life is Strange, but it had a trans character as the main role, and I'm like, that has to be a game for Impact because it's the first one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This time, I don't know enough about any of the games to be like, oh, this game is really trailblazing, so I don't really have a horse in it either.
Yeah. Best ongoing game, I don't care, do you?
No, but it honestly should be Final Fantasy XIV because it's the only one that seems to actually be making significant change. But I guarantee you it'll be Warzone or Genshin Impact, because apparently everybody loves that game and I don't know why.
You know what? Let's do it just for the sake, because that way everyone knows these things. So we'll just quickly go through the ones that we've been skipping. Best audio design: Deathloop, Forza Horizon 5, Ratchet and Clank, Resident Evil, and Returnal. And we'll do games for Impact: Before Your Eyes, Boyfriend Dungeon, Chicory: A Colorful Tale, Life is Strange, True Colors, and No Longer Home. Adam, let's throw some numbers. This will be the wild cards. Best audio, we've already kind of best audio. Which one do you think? These will be our wild cards.
If I was gonna wild card it with audio, I will honestly go with I'll probably go with Forza Horizon on that one as like a real wild card.
I'll pick Returnal.
Okay, I will make note of that.
Okay. Games for Impact, I'm gonna do Boyfriend Jungle. What, or Dungeon?
Boyfriend Jungle. Damn.
Whatever. Shut up.
You know what? I'm gonna go with it too, just because I really want it to win, because I still love the concept of that game. I gotta play that still.
Yeah. Best ongoing game: Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Final Fantasy 16. Oh god, Final Fantasy 14 online. Fortnite,
Roman numerals, Kaylan. Come on, man.
You know what? I'm not Roman. I don't need to know those. I'm gonna go with Genshin Impact.
I think you're probably right, but I'm still going to go with 14 because I think it deserves an award at some point because it has done a fantastic job at recovering.
Yeah. All right. Best indie game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside of the traditional publisher system. 12 minutes, Death's Door, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Inscription, and Loop Hero.
I have heard that it has been an incredible game on Steam, so I'm going to go with Loop Hero as like a dark horse.
I've heard Death's Door is amazing too, so I'm going to give it to Death's Door. Okay. Best debut indie game. For best debut, created by a new independent studio: Kena Bridge of Spirits, Sable, The Artful Escape, The Forgotten City, and Valheim.
Just because it's gotten a bunch of mention elsewhere, I'm going to assume Artful Escape would probably win here. I don't think Kena was good enough to get that award. Sable, I've heard pretty good things about. Forgotten City, I've heard pretty good things about. And I think Valheim had a shot, but people have really downed on it after like its initial release. So
yeah,
I feel like the odds of that winning now, like if this was like a month after it came out, I think it wins. But because the time is kind of like taken away from it, I don't know if Valheim's the winner anymore. So I'm leaning Artful Escape on that one.
I'm going to lean with you on that Artful Escape. Best mobile game? Get out of here. Nope. Do you want to talk about that?
Solitaire. Okay, we're good.
Just real quick, we're not gonna do this one because whatever. But Fantasia, Genshin Impact, League of Legends, Marvel Future Revolution, and Pokemon Unite. But and then best community support, we don't care. We're not gonna do these ones. I think we're starting to get into some of the weeds here.
Look, like community support, great deal. I mean, it's really good that Fall Guys won it last year because their Twitter account is amazing.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like it's a cool award just, to actually show support to people that actually do the real hard work, which is keeping a game going, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. We're gonna skip best VR game. I don't think we need to pick one.
I mean, it'll probably be Resident Evil 4. That would be my guess, but
yeah, I don't know. I never knew there was a sequel to Expect You to Die. That's a fantastic game.
I mean, when you think about it though, like Hitman 3, Resident Evil 4, and Sniper Elite VR, you're thinking, wow, there's actually some like VR games coming out for some pretty major titles. So it's like that conversation we had not too long ago about VR potentially being a future thing for games. Like, who knows? Like, we could be seeing more stuff like this down the road.
Yeah. So the nominations were Hitman 3, I Expect You to Die, Lone Echo, Resident Evil 4, and Sniper Elite VR. I'm gonna give it to I Expect You to Die 2.
Okay. I'm still gonna go Resident Evil 4 just because
I know you are.
I feel like just people will love to talk about games that are really, really old just suddenly winning awards like 10 years later.
Yeah. I don't think we need to vote on innovation and accessibility. I don't think we need to vote on, but I'll give the nominations: Far Cry 6, Forza Horizon 5, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Veil Shadow. All right, here's one we have some more discussions about. Best action game. For the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat, we have Back 4 Blood, Chivalry 2, Deathloop, Far Cry 6, and Returnal.
Considering only one of these games is up for Game of the Year, I think that makes the answer pretty obvious, doesn't it?
I don't know. There's a lot of great choices here.
Well, but I assume it's Deathloop, right? It's the only game in that category that's nominated for Game of the Year, so theoretically it should be Game of the Year then.
Yeah.
Because if it's the only game nominated for Game of the Year, clearly the other 4 games don't win.
Yeah.
But then again, awards do weird things like that.
Yeah, like they may give a nod out to like Returnal.
I don't know. I think Back 4 Blood might even have a case for Returnal, but that's because Returnal's more of a niche product.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you talked me into Deathloop. Deathloop is going to be my vote, and yeah. But you know what? Like, yeah, Deathloop makes sense. Deathloop or Far Cry 6.
I'm trying to logic brain this one. Like, I'm sure that they can justify a different award, but my brain just goes, it's the only one up for Game of the Year. How could you not use it?
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to remember who's voting for this. It's partially fans, but it's also like critics. And I know critics were really impressed with what Returnal did, and everyone loves Housemarque. So
yeah, but if gamers are also voting too, no one played Returnal by the sounds of things. So, and I'm saying that half jokingly.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Deathloop.
Took a while to convince you, but it worked.
Best action adventure game. For best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Metroid Dread, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Resident Evil Village, and Psychonauts 2.
All right, I don't want it to win because I'm anti-Nintendo, but Nintendo's got to walk out with at least one award, so I'm going to give it to Metroid on this one. That's my logic.
See, I'm thinking it's either Metroid or Psychonauts 2.
That's my logic. Nintendo's got to win an award somewhere, or else Miyamoto won't show up anymore.
That's how they get him. I'm going to give it to Psychonauts 2 just for a little bit of spice in the competition. All right. Best RPG. Now this is going to be a shock to some of you. For the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Cyberpunk 2077, Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and Tales of Arise.
As the resident RPG guy, I went, wow, this year was dead.
Why did you become the resident RPG guy?
Like, because most of them are JRPGs. That's why my brain goes.
Yeah, I'll give you you're the resident JRPG, like, weeb. Like, that's fine. But
well, that's usually what best RPGs end up being, because unless, like, Witcher's out that year.
True.
What are you going to do? Put Fallout in right now?
Yeah. Skyrim, whatever the new one is called, the Definitive Extra Edition.
The Edition Definitive Edition.
Yeah. Skyrim, we can't believe you're still buying this.
No. And then followed by Skyrim. You're still buying it.
Skyrim, we said that we wouldn't buy it, but, like, you know, we're actually surprised that you did.
So I actually have no idea who wins this, because, I mean, it shouldn't be Cyberpunk. I've not heard great things about Scarlet Nexus. Shin Megami Tensei 5 just came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and go with Tales of Arise, which would be pretty amazing to see them win an award, because that series never gets any notoriety. So if it could win an award, that might actually be a tipping point for it.
I want to pick Cyberpunk.
Do it.
I do.
Do it. I did it once already.
I'm going to pick Cyberpunk. Honestly, I like that game for all of its faults, for all of its problems. That game was a lot of fun, and, like, I loved it. The story was amazing. I kind of feel like they kind of got screwed over from a narrative perspective, because I feel like the narrative of Cyberpunk is one of the best parts of it. But I mean, there is that role-playing customization thing, and so you definitely could feel like play a certain way. So, like, if you wanted to play as a samurai, sword wielding, whatever, great. If you wanted to play entirely as a hacker, you could. Like, I think Cyberpunk does get it. I don't think it's actually gonna get it though, because it has that bad cloud hanging over it. But I'm gonna throw it out there. That's my little nod to Cyberpunk.
Well, now there's a chance that you might win by 1 point, and Cyberpunk is the key factor. So we each have one now.
Yeah. Best fighting game, for the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Oh god, the
Kimetsu no Yaiba or Yaiba. Kimetsu no Yaiba.
I'm just gonna call it Demon Slayer. You do not get two subtitles.
You have not played Japanese games enough. Then go play a Kingdom Hearts game and talk to me about subtitles and the fucking
we're not
titles.
Even going down the Kingdom Hearts. No, we're not doing that. Guilty Gear Strive, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown.
I feel like unless you feel like just going against me, you should pick Guilty Gear, because I don't think any of the other four come remotely close. Guilty Gear is one of the best fighting games that has come out in the last, like, 5 to 10 years.
All right, I will pick Guilty Gear if you screw me over, and this is just like you throw me under the bus.
Well, look, I'm gonna look. The only actual chance that there is of beating anything is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and that's for a meme. They're legitimately none of the other games are remotely as good as that. So you're literally picking Nickelodeon for meme purposes at this point.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Best family game, for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. It Takes Two, Mario Party Superstars, Pokemon Snap, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and WarioWare Get It Together.
It's got to be Bowser's Fury. Like, It Takes Two is pretty good, but I think Bowser's Fury actually has, like, the hitting power. And that's also, again, if Metroid Dread doesn't win earlier, there's your easy Miyamoto inclusion right there.
Yeah, I can see Super Mario 3D World. I can also see.
And Pokemon. I am saying that, knowing my logic of It Takes Two is the only game of the year on that list.
It Takes Two is good. Like I know that people like it, but from a family perspective, like, it talks about, like, some pretty heady, like, not heady stuff, but it talks about, like, some mature content in terms of, like, divorce and stuff.
I'm also just trying to imagine that going up against a Mario game. I don't care if it's a port plus an expansion pack, but I have a hard time seeing that beating Mario as much as I've heard good things about It Takes Two.
Nah, I'm giving It Takes Two. Let's do it. We're gonna go quickly through these ones. Best sports racing: F1 2021, FIFA 22, Hot Wheels Unleashed, Forza Horizon 5, and Riders Republic.
Based on how well it's doing right now, I think it might actually be Forza. Although I'd really love for Hot Wheels to get it, because apparently that game is something I really have to try. Because it looks like the old school, like N64 like racing games that we grew up with.
I know, it looks so good. I'm gonna give it to Hot Wheels. Let's see what Hot Wheels does.
I hope you're actually right on that one.
Yeah. Best sim or strategy game. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. Age of Empires 4, Evil Genius 2, Humankind, Inscription, or Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's gonna be Flight Simulator.
I'm going Humankind because I thought Flight Simulator was already past that point. I'm like, why is it up for nomination? I was confused when I saw it. I'm like, hasn't it already been more than a year?
I don't know.
So I'm going with Humankind just on that basis because I think it's past its time.
All right, free point for Kaylan.
All right.
Best multiplayer game for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. Back 4 Blood 2, It Takes Two, Knockout City, Monster Hunter Rise, New World, or Valheim.
There is a real bad part of my brain that thinks New World gets this, but I'm going Back 4 Blood.
New World's totally getting this.
I wanted to be Back 4 Blood so bad, and I'm kind of going with it because I really think it's that good. But there is that part of me that thinks New World's getting it.
New World is taking this for sure.
All right, well, you're probably going to be right on that one, but that's my I don't care point. And I think that's the rest of our awards, because unless we want to do most anticipated game for basically 2 years straight.
No, and content the creator of the year, like that's just robbery right there. That was stolen.
Like, for those who care, anticipated game is Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Breath of the Wild sequel, and Starfield. It honestly should be Forbidden West, because it's kind of stupid to give the award to one of the nominees from the previous year. So by logic, Forbidden West should win it.
You know what? No, I could see an argument. I was gonna,
but they would probably give it to Ragnarok at this point.
And I would say I'd give it to Ragnarok only because we did see a trailer. I was gonna say
that's why I think that's the only thing against it. But I think it should be Horizon. But knowing our luck, it's going to be Elden Ring twice. Because why not?
I can see it being Elden Ring.
I can honestly see it.
I can see an argument for it too, because like technically, demos have gone live and like people are playing it, so like makes sense.
I think we need to make this now. Okay, what do you think? I'm gonna go with all right, I'm gonna go with God of War on this one.
I'll do Elden Ring.
Okay, so you're going for the first ever 2-time winning award. Wait, I wonder, is there a game that's won more than once?
It's coming, dude. It's coming right off the heels of a live demo. Like I can see it.
I know, but my brain's like, man, do you really want to do it twice?
So nice it won twice.
It would be.
All right, so the last category they saved, Game of the Year. So recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. The options are Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village.
That one, again, because I've never played any of them. You've played a couple of them, so you got a better grasp of it than I do. Just based on what I have heard and what I have seen, I feel like it's going to be Deathloop. Because literally, it's the only game that I know of that most people are giving 10s to. So it just theoretically, to me, makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is going to be Deathloop, or it should be Deathloop at least. Like I said, the innovative choices it makes with its gameplay, combined with its cool artistic style, like it goes for this weird, like it's not realistic, but it's not like, it's got an interesting choice style that'll, let it be long in the tooth in terms of not looking outdated. Gameplay is fine, and one thing that like to mention is that like the game did not come out with a significant amount of bugs, and that's something that like this past year has been riddled with. And so it was a game that sure had a couple patch fixes here and there, but if I recall, like I don't remember hearing a bunch of game breaking huge issues with that game. So I think that one definitely deserves it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, we'll have to revisit that. If you guys are listening to this and you guys are in the Discord, maybe you guys let us know what you think is going to be your, who do you think is going to win Game of the Year, and which one of you guys thinks of the two of us is going to win. And if you guys are watching us on YouTube, leave a comment down below what you think is going to be the winner of Game of the Year and which one of us made the best call.
We all know it should have been Grand Theft Auto Remaster, though, right?
Got robbed. It's in company with us.
What got robbed more? GTA Remaster Game of the Year, Pixel Play Podcast Content Creator of the Year. Put that in the comments below.
There we go. All right. Adam, hard to believe it, but we are coming up on the PlayStation 5's 1 year anniversary.
Which is crazy because it feels like it's been longer than that, actually.
For some people, that still hasn't even started yet this generation. So I thought we'd kind of just do a quick retrospective. Just, what are your thoughts on the PS5 and how is it delivering? Is it living up to expectations? Is it overperforming, underperforming? What is it doing right? What is it doing wrong?
Well, I think we can obviously make a case to that because it's been a pandemic year, it's really hard to gauge that because we haven't even had a true 12-month period of full bore PS5. It's very possible we're not even starting to see like a full proper year of production from anything, right? I mean, in terms of what we got, and like I'm just scrolling down like the top games on Metacritic for the PlayStation 5. So we got Hades at 1, Demon Souls at 2, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake at 3, Final Fantasy 7 remake at 4, Disco Elysium at 5, Devil May Cry 5 at 6, Deathloop at 7, It Takes Two at 8, Ratchet and Clank at 9, and Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut at 10. So in your top 10, you have what, like only 2 games that are specific to that console so far? So it's not a great start if you're looking in terms of like generational exclusive, but and I'm sure you and myself will agree on this, just on the basis of having the console, to know what the future of gaming is like, it's in pretty decent hands with the fact that 60 frames is a pretty basic thing now for console gaming at a pretty decent price. The graphic fidelity is really nice, and the gaming experiences that we're getting. I mean, you even go back to Astro's Playroom and just even a little bit of an experiment like that. It's not that this year has been amazing as a first year, but it's the potential that this first year has shown us that is what's more promising than the actual year itself.
Yeah, and that's the word that you hit on right there is I don't necessarily think it's been a great or amazing first year for PlayStation, but it has been a promising one.
We're probably going to look at this year like, oh, this was a really bad launch year, but we're going to be like 6-7 years later being like, but man, this console was great once it got firing.
Exactly, and that's kind of like I don't think we're firing on all cylinders yet. Like
I think the same goes for the Xbox too as well. I think they're both in that same boat where it's just like once we start getting a steady flow going, I think we'll be starting to see like, man, this generation's good.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming across as true, Sony ponies just reviewing a PlayStation 1 year later. But that's
I said Xbox will be good too. I'm being both sidesy.
I'd like to speak to it, but I don't have one. If you want us to do a 1 year review of Xbox and review, support us on Patreon and I'll buy an Xbox. So.
Well, when did that come out? How far away are we from that, or is it already passed?
I don't know. I'm the PlayStation guy here.
That's a good question. Google, help me.
I think it comes out a week later.
Oh no, it literally was introduced November 10th. Does that mean that I guess it is out too. So I guess we're really just looking at like a generation 1 year anniversary.
All right, yeah. But it's interesting because they have very different trajectories. And so I'm not going to speak to the Xbox just because, I mean, I think they're making some really awesome choices in terms of, Game Pass. And it's really interesting how they've gone 2 different routes.
And I think we've already had that conversation because we recently talked about like Game Pass as a whole and whether it needed to have like the big exclusive games. So we've kind of did most of our chunk on Xbox already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For PlayStation, I find it like they come up with some pretty interesting and, pretty good exclusives. Like having not played it, like Returnal looks cool. I mean, I don't think I'll play it anytime soon. Demon Souls looks good. Spider-Man was awesome. Ratchet and Clank, was gorgeous. Nothing that I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be like the best game of the generation, but like it's a pretty strong start that you've had 2, 3 PlayStation exclusives, maybe I guess 4 in 1 year. Like that's pretty decent, and it's not even like the heavy hitters yet. I mean, shout out to like Insomniac. They've been busting their ass in terms of putting games out, and they've definitely, I think, been carrying this generation, but like yeah, it's not firing on all cylinders yet, and I think there's still some room to grow. But I also don't feel like it's been a huge generational shift either. Like people who are, if you have a PS4 Pro, like I don't feel like you're missing a ton by not having the PlayStation 5. Like I think the coolest thing the PlayStation 5 does is the DualSense.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you're missing what, like 3 really good games right now. Like most that you're missing is.
Sorry, I'm talking about like graphical improvement, not necessarily the games that you're missing, but just like from a step up generationally. Like I don't feel it as much as I did going from PS3 to PS4.
Yeah, because I mean, the difference here for the most part, because I mean, unless you're real good at catching visual things, like 4K and 1080p, while it is obvious if you really pay attention, but like if you just pass by, you're not always going to catch it right away. But 30 and 60 frames is the one noticeable change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anybody that I know that's owned one of these consoles now is like, man, I can never go back to 30 now that I've played 60. And it's just like, it really does show just how great having that extra ability to get more inputs in and have them more accurate. It's just, that's the one thing. And that's why I tell most people, it's like, look, the changes in this new generation are not going to be like PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2. It's just not going to be like that anymore. But what you're going to get now is just comfort. It's just going to feel better now rather than look better. So don't worry about the visuals anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I think the DualSense is an amazing sort of thing. Like that controller, I feel pushes the boundaries almost as much as like Rumble did back in like the N64 era. And it's like, wow, this is really immersive in the way that like we thought Rumble was when that was a thing.
Yeah, and again, like now some companies still aren't using it. I never asked you, how did you really notice the Rumble when it came to Deathloop, because that was a big feature of them with like the guns jamming and stuff.
See, I never had I never had the gun jamming because I found weapons really quickly that didn't jam. But like, yeah, I felt the difference like pulling the triggers on the different guns, and that was something that I really liked by having that by having that, like, you could feel the difference between a pistol and machine gun and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
that's what I really like. I really feel like it's first person shooters and shooting games that really make a difference on that.
Yeah, it's just like a nice touch, more or less. It's not it's not like, oh my god, it's life changing. It's just more like, that's kind of neat. Like it's like, now when you play a game like Astro, that's when you really got like, oh man, there's a lot of potential you can do with this thing. And I think, and again, that's, it started off like that when we all first got our console and we can see what it looks like. And we're not there yet, not because, it hasn't been achieved, but so much as just we haven't had enough people to take a good shot at it. Like, we're still waiting to see what like certain companies come up with. We're waiting to see, like, once they start getting a handle of the software, what they really come up with, because it's the same thing with every generation, right? Like, people are going to they're going to make a game on there for the first time, get a decent hand of it, but by the time the game's life cycle is coming to an, or not a game's life cycle, a console's life cycle is coming to an end, that's when you get like oh man, that's when you get like your Last of Us Part 2s and your GTA 5s and all those like games throughout the generations that just push it to the very brink.
Yeah, like think about what happened like when like Naughty Dog in the sense of PlayStation 3. Like think of like where we came from Uncharted's Drake's Deception to The Last of Us on the PS3. Or even, it's a bad comparison just because it's not quite at the end, but think of like Killzone Shadowfall to Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, because you remember looking at the trailers for the PS4 and seeing Killzone, you're like, oh, that looks neat. But then you played it and we're like, it kind of still plays like a PS3 game. And then you look at Horizon and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. I can now kill a rocket shooting dinosaur. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you about is, have you used the 3D audio? Do you find that makes a difference? Because I haven't picked up yet on that 3D audio benefit.
Because I recently got the headset for it, which I don't know if it actually changes anything. I just ended up getting it because I just wanted a better wireless headset for party chat purposing. For the most part, like if compared to how I used to play games with the Gold Wireless on PS4, it is sort of noticeable, but I don't know if I don't know if it's like really noticeable because the hardware just isn't that strong, or if it's because people aren't using it to its fullest capability yet. So I actually should one of these days go back and play Astro with that headset on and see if how it sounds, because I only played on my TV when I played it the first time.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the sense in the audio what they might have, because I'm sure that they played with it there too. But like, yeah, I'm sure again, like once a couple more years come in and people start to really mess with it, because again, I imagine if you're putting a game on a new piece of hardware for the first time, you're more trying to like make sure it's stable first, and then you can mess with the gimmicks if you have time. So I imagine if, let's say Insomniac, after like doing 2 or 3 games on there, let's say Spider-Man 3 comes out at the end of its life cycle, they're going to do some real nice things with it because they know what they're working with. So now they can spend extra time on the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I think like we said with a lot of other things, it's more like a work in progress before we get a real answer.
Yeah, because like right now I do have moments where I catch it and I'm like, oh wow, that sounds really cool. But considering the amount of like effort that they're talking about, that they like scoped out how people's ears, like I don't notice it that much yet. So I hope it kind of becomes something, but
I'm
for
willing
now,
to
it's still
assume, like a
lackluster.
lot of other companies, that, you know, they did put their work in. It's just nobody's really put a lot of work into it in their games yet.
Mhm.
But I mean, again, like if we have the same conversation a few years later, then we'll know the actual answer to that question. But I think because the sheer like lack of games that have come out exclusively for that console, we haven't quite seen it being pushed yet. I think once we start seeing a lot more exclusives, same goes with the Series X. Once we start seeing a lot more exclusives for these two consoles, we'll start to get a better sense of, you know, what happens when this hardware is pushed. Because when you're making a game for both PS5 and PS4, you're not going to be able to push the PS5 version as hard as you can, because you still got to make a version that's going to be working on the prior generation.
Yeah. So just to wrap it up real quick, we don't have to go too long into it, but like, what's the one game that you recommend for people on PS5? Like, what's the best game that PS5 offers?
Well, the unfortunate part is I haven't played one of them that's exclusive to it yet, but I guess I would say being able to play Final Fantasy VII Remake with the actual like graphics that it has. I guess Miles Morales also counts too, because the loading times in an open world is a pretty big deal. I think those are the two I'd go with. But like from what I've heard from people, you go Ratchet or you go Demon Souls if you're into the harder stuff. If you're casual, you go Ratchet. If you're into the hard stuff, you go Demon Souls.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going for graphical fidelity, you go Ratchet.
Yeah, if you really just want to be blown away. I mean, personally, I just say get the console and play Astros at this point.
That was going to actually be my thing.
Because that's honestly your best bet.
Astro is the best game on that system so far in terms of just showing what the console's capable
You know what
of.
actually does make me really sad, that as I keep scrolling down on Metacritic, it's not showing up, which is it's 32. It's only at an 83. That is garbage. Whoever reviewed that game and didn't give it a 10 is just losing it.
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic game. It's definitely like when you get a PS5, that is the first thing you should boot up and play. You don't even have to go buy a game. Just go play.
You should be giving it a 10 out of 10 anyway, because it comes free with a console.
Yeah. Best game, and it's free.
It's a free game that comes with your console, and it's not even bad.
Yeah.
That's already a win.
Yeah. Listeners, you know what? On the Discord, let us know what your experience has been so far with the PS5, if you've been able to get one. And what is you think the best game so far on that console? And if you're an Xbox player, you know, same thing. What's the best game on the Xbox right now? And why is it Horizon? Or Forza Horizon. Sorry, thank you.
Jeez.
Yeah, I am tired.
Hang in there, buddy.
It's I'm done at this point, so we're good.
Well,
we're wrapped up there with
done.
we're gonna no, I mean I'm done. I'm gonna set you off on your Untimely review, and then we're gonna wrap up the show. So Adam, you're coming to us with an Untimely review. So if you are new here, we are not influential enough, as shown by the fact we are not nominated for content creators on the Game Awards. And we are too broke to get games quickly, and we have jobs, so we don't get to play them quickly. So we review games on our own dime and on our own time, making them untimely reviews. Adam, what do you have for us this week?
Well, it's not exactly untimely, because as I'm learning, my way of getting reviews in on the show is by cheating and just using Game Pass to get all my games in. So I ended up playing a game called Unpacking, which we probably talked about. I think it was IGN summer, around the summertime that this trailer came out. And I thought it looked really neat, because it was just a game about like, it was a really, really indie game. It felt like, you know, an old school, like, it had like Game Boy Advance level graphics, and it's just about like unpacking stuff out of a box and just putting it away and just putting it on shelves. And it just felt like super, super chill. And very much like my review of Coffee Talk, I'm going to get a very similar response here, where I say this game is so amazing because of how chill it is. You know, the music isn't nearly as good as Coffee Talk. My God, Coffee Talk kills it with its soundtrack. And again, there's no real story. I mean, there's sort of a story to Unpacking. You're basically just, over the course of this person's life, you're just going from their childhood home to working their way to when they move out for college. And then they move into another place, they move into another place, and you move into a new place, you're starting a family. Like, it's the whole journey. And it's just slowly unpacking. And the only bit to the story is that you'll see stuff consistently as time moves on. Like, you'll see stuffed animals that carry with you all the way through. There are certain books that you'll keep carrying. They're like, your Game Boy will come with you through a bunch of times. So it's little touches like that ends up feeling really sweet. And because of the game's graphical charm that it has to it, it's a very, very charming looking game. And again, in its simplicity, it's really hard not to get a little bit carried away with it, because if you're like me and have a bit of a I can't say OCD with a straight face because it's not diagnosed, but like I definitely do have a very perfectionist, things have to be where they really are supposed to be kind of vibe to myself. So to play a game like this, it was really satisfying to like slowly mess around with the shelves, trying to get everything to balance out so that, you know, all the books were on the shelf in the right sizes, so there weren't like a weird small book in between a bunch of tall books and things like that. And I ended up really enjoying that part of it. And like I said, it's not the most complicated thing. And like Coffee Talk, I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I have to dock 1 point off of it for one specific reason. It's still a puzzle game, which means you have to put things in somewhat of a specific area.
Yeah.
And to the developers of Unpacking, you can't tell me I can't put my Game Boy in the bathroom. Like, stop judging me. For the most,
like you shouldn't sit in the bathroom that long.
Well, look, if I want to put something
there, that's
not
normal, Adam.
Why am I not allowed to?
Eat some fiber.
And also, by the time I think I get to a certain place, I'm like 30 potentially. Why am I putting stuffed animals on my bed still? What am I, a child? There's some weird decision. Like, I think my only complaint with this game is just the fact that it actually forces me to put stuff in certain spots. And I'm like, but then it's not actually about unpacking, is it? Because it's not me unpacking, it's me playing this person unpacking, which isn't as fun because now I gotta be a different person when I can just throw stuff wherever I feel like.
Yeah, so my question is like, is it sort of a thing where it's more like IKEA furniture where everything has a set place and you just
not quite, but like when you finish putting, like when every box has been emptied and everything has been placed, everything that is not where it's supposed to be will be having like this red outline on it, and it'll make some sort of a sound to tell you, hey, you need to move this somewhere else. And there were a couple of cases where I'm moving stuff and just dropping it everywhere because I can't figure out where the game wants me to put it. There was one item that I still, like, as it comes out of the box, I have no idea what it looks like. And it isn't until I just started messing around and I randomly put it on the fridge and I realized it was a koala fridge magnet, and it did not look like a koala in that default sprite. So there's little things like that that kind of ticked me off. Because that broke the immersion. That broke the I'm just chilling. Because I went from, oh, this is really chill. And like I was fine for like 2 levels. Level 3 is when I had that first problem and I went, no, this is stupid. This is stupid. Why am I spending a minute trying to figure out where this one tiny thing that I can't even identify is? There's a couple of objects that aren't obvious. Like, you can tell what a laptop looks like, what a stuffed animal looks like, what a book looks like. But there are a couple objects that if they had just had like, if you right-clicked it, it would say what the item was. Maybe you could get a better idea of what you were actually holding. Because there were a couple of cases where you just stare at this thing and being like, I don't even know what you are. How do I know where you go?
So, in terms of gameplay, is there like any sort of challenge, or is it just a completion mark?
It is completely just completing it.
Okay.
Like with Coffee Talk, it's more just go through it. It's just really a relaxing experience. And that's what I knew going in, and I was pretty happy to know that was indeed the case. Because when I first saw the trailer, I went, all right, so this is going to be kind of like Coffee Talk, where I just boot up the game, do a couple of levels, and just kind of like, you know, take a moment to not be freaking out at whatever game I'm playing currently.
All right. And real quick, like, how long did it take you? Like, what do you think the average runtime is going to be for this game? Is it like pretty short?
3 to 4 hours. It's like, I think it's like eight levels, I think.
Okay.
And most of them, like, the first one will only take you like 10 minutes because it's one room. And it starts evolving into 2 rooms. And then now there's a map in the top left corner that gives you like 5 different rooms that you got to do stuff for. So
then it like goes through and like you're downsizing to like retirement and putting everything in storage.
I did have to move back into my parents' place. So I guess there is some realism to that.
I'm gonna reframe. I'm gonna play this game, but I'm gonna frame it like I am a mob witness, and I am just constantly having to relocate as I evade the mob hitmen coming after me.
But yeah, it again, like, I don't think I could play this in one run. I've played it in 3 different installments because it's like you do a couple of levels and you're fine. You know, it's nothing that like is going to change anything. And I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because for what it is, it does a fantastic job of it. Other than the fact that it's a little bit judging in where you put stuff. But
Fair
like.
enough.
It's not saying that, oh, it's as good as like a death loop. It's just more like, hey, for what it is, it's pretty good at what it does. It does exactly what it sets out to do.
Yeah, not every game has to be the same thing. It's just about, you know, setting out a purpose, and did you stick the landing on that purpose?
All it was supposed to do is it relaxing? And the answer was yeah, it's very relaxing. Except for the 10 seconds that you're bitching about where a fridge magnet's supposed to be. That you don't know is a fridge magnet.
Fair enough. Well, now our listeners do know it's a fridge magnet. So
yeah, if you see this weird like gray white looking thing that looks more like a rock, it's a fridge magnet. Just put it on the fridge.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir. Yeah. So if you guys are interested, go check out Unpacking, and if you played it, let us know what you think. And I think that's a pretty good place for us to leave this one, Adam. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I will put my Game Boy wherever I want.
I'm going to leave it there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If this is your first time listening to us, we hope it was good for you. It was certainly good for us. If you're one of our regulars, thank you so much for sticking with us. We really appreciate your support. If you want to join others like you who are listening to the podcast, check us out on the Discord. We'd always appreciate you reaching out to us on Twitter or Instagram, pixelplaypodcast, pixelplaycast on the Twitter and Instagram. If you want to email us with questions, comments, concerns, reviews, sponsorships, whatever, you can email us at pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. And you can always find us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube by searching for Pixel Play Podcast. I have been your host, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, CSRadical, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.